I'm here today with Rob Boston, who is Assistant Communications Director for the Americans United for Separation of Church and State organization. It's good to have you here with me on Friendly Fire today, Rob.
Thanks, John.
I want to talk to you about a number of the issues that our organization has dealt with you over the years. We've been on the opposite side of many issues, but some issues we've been on the same side. Basically, let's start with your philosophy. There are a lot of Christians, for example, in the Christian right, that argue that what your organization's major goal is to completely secularize American society, secularize the public schools. You don't believe in chaplains should be as I understand, in the Senate. How far are they off? Are they right? I mean, it seems to me that at least the effects of your philosophy would secularize society.
Well, I sometimes think the term secular gets a bit of a bum rap. It's not a dirty word. I think it's a positive feature of American life, and I think there are many countries that would like and benefit from having a secular state. A secular state is an officially non-religious state. It's not an anti-religious state, and that's an important distinction. Basically, our organization believes that individuals and communities of believers should have rights of full expression, but that they should not be able to engage the machinery of the state to promote their theology and their doctrine.
Well, we talk about the Founding Fathers. From the beginning of the country, they had chaplains in Congress. I mean, they obviously believed that. I know they were influenced by the Enlightenment, and they all had different views, but from the beginning, there was this belief that we had to look to a deity or to be honest with the Judeo-Christian God. We've had that from the beginning. So are you saying that, and I know as I understand your philosophy is that we shouldn't have chaplains. Doesn't that kind of do away with the whole purpose at the beginning of the country?
I think when you look at the situation of chaplains in the Congress, at the time Washington, D.C. was founded, basically a city built from scratch. And for a long time, there were just a few buildings in the entire city. One of them was the Congress. And chaplains were brought in to lead prayers. But now we have a situation where Washington is a thriving city with almost 700,000 people in it, and in the environs, millions of people, plenty of churches, plenty of houses of worship there for members to avail themselves of. Chaplains are really, I think, suited for situations where people are away from their house of worship. You know, if you join the Army and they send you to Afghanistan or Iraq, you can't go to church. So a chaplain is brought in, a military chaplain.
So you would agree with chaplains in the military?
Chaplains in the military we have no problem with. They're brought in and they provide for your religious needs. But nobody in the Congress cannot access a religious leader. They're all over Washington in that area. And what I find interesting is people make such a big fuss about this, but very few people actually bother to attend the prayers every day. The chamber is usually empty when the prayers are cited. So
you're saying it's hypocritical?
It's become a formalized ritual that's devoid of any meaning. And that often happens when the government starts mandating prayer. Look at school prayer. When that was occurring in the 50s and early 60s, a lot of people who went through that will tell you that, well, we just said it to get it out of the way, to get it done with, and that's not the purpose of prayer.
Well, they had rotating prayer in the Senate or Congress. We had a Hindu speak one day, an Orthodox Jew one day, a Christian one day, a Unitarian the next day, a Wiccan the next day. Would you be opposed to that?
Well, the Congress does attempt sometimes to have a little more diversity. There's often a guest minister.
What if that was rule? Would you actually oppose that? That seems like a multiplicity of choices and combinations.
I think that all that does is it takes the problem and compounds it, because now instead of promoting one religion, you may be promoting 20 or 30. The government shouldn't really be in the business of sponsoring prayers. Now, if it's going to be done, and obviously, in light of the Marsh v. Chambers case from the 80s, it can be done, I do think it's a good idea to be diverse. The one sort of missing piece of the puzzle is this. We have had Jews come in, and Hindus and Muslims. Nobody's ever really, to my knowledge, just come in and given a secular invocation. That'd be an interesting thing for Congress to hear.
Multiplicity. But a question that you just spoke to our student interns here, and one of the big issues was the idea of intelligent design in the public schools. There was a recent case in Dover, Pennsylvania, where a judge ruled that it was a violation of the First Amendment Establishment Clause for a school to incorporate it in its curriculum. The question that comes up a lot, though, I have science teachers who call me who believe in intelligent design or believe that there's some credibility to it. They're not necessarily Christians. And they ask me this question. They say, can I, when I'm in class and I'm talking about evolution, can I mention that there is another theory, just briefly in some part, where I feel there's a problem, because I believe it's academic freedom. It's protected under the Free Speech Clause. How do you come down on that?
Well, if you look at what the federal court ruled in a case in Dover, Judge Jones found that intelligent design was a religious concept, that it had religious underpinnings and therefore was considered to be a violation of the First Amendment. So I think teachers have to be very careful when they are discussing this subject in class. Because there is the potential there that there can be problems.
Yeah, but I'm not saying indoctrinating. I'm saying a teacher who just says, there is another theory here on this particular point. It's called intelligent design. Briefly, in 30, 40 seconds, they say, here it is, and they go on and teach the class.
I would be careful about equating intelligent design with evolution, because I don't think the two are equivalent. But if a teacher mentioned it in passing, I don't think that's going to spark.
It's part of academic freedom.
And made that argument. I think if you attempted to teach it in depth, making an academic freedom argument, that probably would not fly.
Another issue that your organization has battled is the faith-based initiatives under the Bush administration, where money would go to religious organizations for some things. And in part I can understand if they gave money to a church to preach sermons, but what if you have a religious organization, let's say whether it's a Baptist, Catholic, doesn't matter, or Unitarian church, and they have a home for unwed mothers? Why can't, and they're having trouble feeding the mothers or whatever they're doing, it's a small church, why can't they take $50,000 from the federal government, beef up that program, and provide services for homeless people and unwed mothers? What's wrong with that?
Well, they can do that. They just have to be careful that they're not promoting religion while they're doing it.
Isn't that kind of unrealistic, though?
Well, no, I don't think so. Religious groups have been taking public money for a long time to provide secular services to a wide array of people. They just have to be careful to separate that from their evangelistic activities. Let's say this home, you mentioned in your hypothetical, wanted to preach to mothers too, and to show them videos or take them to church. That activity has to be funded with the money that they're raising from their members, not from the state. And as long as they keep those two separate, they shouldn't have a problem.